Okay, welcome. Today I wanted to offer some reflections about when chaos happens. What do we do? How do we deal with chaos? How do we deal with challenge? And some principles, techniques that you can use for that. Okay. So I've done videos in the last few months about, current challenges and situations. Today I wanted to do more specific situations that affect you on a day-to-day basis. I've just got back from holiday yesterday morning. I think we got back about 3:30 in the morning, so we had a bit of chaos. And what I wanted to share with you today is just some ideas of, okay, what do we do when chaos shows up in our lives and it affects us directly? Because the reality is that chaos does happen. And if you've been through some form of trauma, childhood, boarding school, then often what we do is we try and control everything. And when things do go wrong, often we don't necessarily deal with it very well. It can, say for example, we have a real routine and structure, but then we go away on holiday, or someone gets sick. What we can often do in that moment is shut down, disassociate. We go into those old patterns. As we begin the healing journey, we have to find a new way, which keeps our hearts open. Doesn't mean that it's not unpleasant. So that's really important to know, is we've been taught, no, we can't feel this. This is too much. Giving some space to, and I want to share a few ideas from Buddhism and some different ideas. So the first thing really is that, chaos. If you think of the 80-20 rule, they call it the Pareto Principle, that 80% of the time, everything goes really smoothly. And 20% of the time, there's chaos. So that's the first thing, is to notice that this is just the law of the universe. You have, really calm weather, then you have a storm. You don't have the storm all the time. So it's to notice, right, this is just natural. There is going to be chaos from time to time. That's the first thing, really, to kind of, understand. When we do that, and it kind of comes from this idea of Buddhism, the teachings of the Four Noble Truths. The third noble truth is really, this is the way it is. Rather than going, the second noble truth is this idea of craving, tanha. You try and, no, I don't want it. Or we really want something, we hold on, we grip. So we're kind of pushing away. And the idea that Buddhism teaches, this idea that, this is the way it is, there's just chaos. So we got back, me and my wife, and the sheep had got into our garden, and they basically destroyed, probably 60-70% of the garden, ate it. And, it's like, the emotion was, as, I was feeling, it was like, okay, that feels upsetting. And as my wife pointed out to me yesterday, I was going into the story a bit. It's like, this is, broken. And actually, it's just to feel it without the story. Where do I feel it in my body? Okay, this is upsetting. And this is the way it is. Sometimes stuff happens. And then the first noble truth is there is suffering. Things happen. There is that 20% chaos. So that's the first thing, really. The other thing, second idea is in Buddhism, as this idea of the old age, sickness and death, is that these things happen. We get old. We get sick sometimes. People die. Rather than just denying that these things happen, that the 20% doesn't exist, we can often be in a lot of suffering because we try and keep ourselves busy doing, but we can have breakdowns. Whereas when we can just relax, go, I'm going to get old. I'm going to get sick at some point. I'll die at some point. There's going to be chaos. It's not to get lost in it, but it's just to go, oh, this is the way it is. There's going to be chaos. And it's like this relaxation inside of ourselves rather than pushing it away. It just is. And it will change. The good stuff will come back. So teacher Marcy Shimoff talks about this, the happy for no reason. And this idea that it doesn't matter what the circumstances are happening around. Yeah, it could be chaos. The sheep have eaten the garden. It's like, that's just the way it is. Happy for no reason. I can still be happy even if external circumstances are not exactly what I want. The third idea is this idea of reframing. So when it comes to you and it's a challenge, it's like, yes, this helps me to grow. The teacher Ajahn Chah really spoke about this idea of patience. He says when everything else, all the other practices, the meditation, the mindfulness, all falls apart, what's left is patience. So as we were coming into Manchester on about 1 o'clock, we were about an hour late and we were just circling because we were late and there was no slots. And people on the airplane were effing and blinding, some were getting upset. And I was like, this is a time to practice patience. And as Ajahn Chah said, it's like, it's only when things aren't going our way that we can cultivate patience. It's not feeling good when we're cultivating patience, but it's such an important quality. It's such a beautiful quality. You look at the Dalai Lama, you look at someone like Nelson Mandela, and when he was alive, they imbue this sense of patience, but they only cultivated it when it was hard. So that's the second, this idea, we reframe it rather than go, oh God, it's terrible. It's like, yes, this helps me to grow. The psychiatrist who wrote the book Tools, Phil Stutz, says this idea of when the challenge comes on, it's like, bring it on. Yes, my infinite potential is where it's uncomfortable. So it's like, yeah, great. This is cool. This is, bring this on. And another aspect, the fifth thing here is this idea of thanking it. It's come in, and this is the same as reframing. It's like, oh, thank you. Thank you for coming in. This is helping me to grow. Blessing it rather than blaming, shaming, complaining, which that's an old habit. And my wife's great at pointing out, like last night, okay, you're going into this. So yeah, thanking it. And then the final point really is, I've heard this from many teachers over the years, is a challenge only shows up in your life if you have those inner resources to be able to deal with it. So if it's a really difficult challenge, go, wow, I must have the inner strength now to be able to deal with this. It's like the sheep getting into the garden, or the plane being late, or, other things which went wrong while I was away. My Facebook account got cloned and I was, these things were happening. It's like, these things are happening because, I can deal with this now. There's going to be the 20%. So really blessing, going, oh, I'm actually a lot stronger than I think because this big challenge has come in and I must have the resources here. So that's something I've heard over the years. So yeah, there were some ideas and some reflections. Chaos does happen, so that's the way it is. The 80-20 Pareto law. Buddhism, this idea of, four noble truths. This is the way it is. Reframe how you receive it. And this helps you to cultivate patience is another thing. Thanking it. And it only shows up because you have the strength to deal with it. So just reflecting on those. So yeah, I'm now back to work doing my coaching, the film, looking forward to watching the film footage that we made with Nick Duffel a few weeks ago. That's a job I'm going to be doing the next few days. Also got a couple of podcasts. I've got a professor of education from the University of Sweden coming on Friday to talk about globalizing Eton. His thesis was all about boarding schools and the impact on the world, so that's going to be fascinating as well. And then I've got another amazing guy called Martin Lloyd Elliott, who is a psychotherapist and a professional in, works with leaders in leadership. He's coming on Monday, so got an exciting few weeks ahead. So many blessings to you. Any comments, please let me know.